I'm not that crazy. Go ahead, I have a hunch.
And now for something completely different.
Okay, hold on tight.
What I do is I look a woman up and down and I say,
I'm coming to join you, bitch!
Oh, is that too far?
Oh, you want to get into things?
Well, I mean...
No. Let's get into things. Let's get real. Everybody, Bojack wants to get real. Cancel the bubble round, because we're getting real.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of No Time to Binge. Probably the rockin'est, most misfit-caring show that's about crazy episodes of things that we don't really want to watch, but sometimes we watch some of it. With me, as always, we got my little rockin' gang of kids here. We got Dylan on the guitar. Dylan, how are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. How are you?
Dude, awesome. Zaz, how are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Awesome. Michael Misfit, how's it going?
Oh, so good. So good.
So good.
This is the first
awesome.
This is the first day for about 2 weeks that I haven't had a COVID headache, so very
Nice.
happy. Very happy.
Still bragging about having COVID, huh? Yeah, very 2020 of you.
Now I'm bragging because my head doesn't feel like I'm swimming in a vat of syrup.
All right. It sounds like a Lil Wayne song. Anyway, so what we do in the show, if this is your first time here, what we do is we find shows that are canceled and sometimes not good and sometimes very good. And then we watch the very first episode of it, and then we watch the very last episode of it, and we kind of make up a whole bunch of weird shit in the middle, and then try to see if like this could be a show that somebody might have some time to binge. If you watched our last week's episode, our last episode, it was Santa Clarita's Diet. What a weird show that was. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I opened up our email bag to some of our friends and fans to get some questions that I forgot to ask last week. So we have some questions, if that's okay with you guys. And they are targeted. So let's see here. Let's see. Michael Misfit.
Yes.
Let's see. Wolfenloaf86 says, in the last episode, when Abby and Eric returned the night vision goggles, Abby asked if they should put them back exactly where they were. And Eric said he didn't remember where they were, but luckily he, quote, took a picture. How could this be possible if Abby purposefully excluded him when she was collecting the goggles with Lisa? Very good question.
I think it was because of Jesus. I think Jesus did it.
Jesus did it.
Yes.
Well, they actually gave the answer, and you're correct. Jesus did do it. So good job. Right on. I didn't expect that. I don't remember those goggles whatsoever. Dylan on guitar. Let's see here. We have a tragic ending after season 3, which left us on a lot of unanswered questions. The show now ends with Sheila biting Joel in order to save his life after she's bit. Now, Cheetah Girl 73 would like to know, if you could make up the next season, what would it be about?
Oh, man. I'd probably get really cerebral with it, have it be a battle between Joel and Zombie Joel and leggy balls. What's the spider thing's name? leggy balls. Yeah,
good old leggy balls.
Have it be like a cerebral, like Mind Mansion style fight, like Home Alone, where Joel is like trapping his brain against invaders, and then I don't know, Drew Barrymore writes a song with that British guy.
Yeah, I'd watch that. I'm actually going to let everyone answer this question because I'm pretty curious what everyone thinks. Well, yeah, Dylan, you answered obviously, which is who it was to. But I think to help Cheetah Girl 73 out, I'm going to let the whole panel answer this. What would the next season of Santa Clarita's Diet seem like? Misfit, Michael, Misfit.
I think it would follow some completely different people. None of the characters that we know or love would be in it. It wouldn't have anything to do with zombies. I liked the other monsters that they had in the show. So I would prefer one set down in Florida with that there Swamp Thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bring in the Swamp Thing. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's a
in
good
Santa
choice.
Clarita, Florida.
Yeah.
Of course.
Good old Everglades swamps. Bizaz.
Okay. So whatever happens, of course, they have to bring back Jack Black. You have to. He's way too important of a figure in Santa Clarita Diet. I do agree with Michael Misfit. It needs to have almost absolutely nothing to do with everyone else, and it needs to be centered around zombies. That's what I would like personally. Like, or not zombies. I'm sorry, I said vampires.
Okay.
Oh,
I put too much vodka in here.
Yeah.
Nice.
Get some vampire Sasquatches.
Yes.
I'm aggressively into that.
And swamp things.
Okay, so
Vampire
our next
Swamp Things.
Yeah, I'm into that. Our next email comes from Dolphins Love Finkel over at Instagram, and this is over to Bizaz. We have now at the comic book store when Eric and Abby are talking, there's a Plants vs. Zombie comic on the rack in front of them. Is this either multiverse or foreshadowing?
I think it's a bit of both, honestly. Kind of going into what I said before, I actually want to change my previous answer. I would like to do a multiverse thing in the next season, centered around Plants vs. Zombies specifically, because they did bring up a very good point about that Plants vs. Zombies thing that they saw in the comic book store, and I do think that was supposed to be foreshadowing for season 3 or season 4, 3.
4.
How many seasons were there?
I think there was 3.
There were
there
3
was
season
3.
4. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I hope that answers some fan questions. I don't want to spend too much time on that, but if you do have any questions on things we do not go over in this episode, feel free to email us. Dylan, what's the email address again?
I'm asking questions on No Time to Binge from the audience at yahoo.com.
Yeah. It is a bit lengthy, but obviously once you think about it, that makes the most sense.
Everything else is taken.
Yeah. All right. So this week, what we challenged each other to do is find out if there should or should not be time to binge the original run of Gem and the Holograms, which if obviously this is right when Dylan was born, back in 1985.
You wish.
But boy, do I. So what we have October 6th, 1985. Gem and the Holograms popped off in one of the weirdest decades that Dylan brags about constantly. Now, who wants to tell me what episode 1 was actually about? I'm going to go with Bizaz.
Okay. All right. So it starts with this like orphanage or something, and these girls absolutely do not know how to do anything at all whatsoever. They're breaking everything. They're setting stuff on fire. Somehow they exploded their vacuum cleaner. It's an absolute disaster. These girls, I don't know what they've been doing their entire lives, but it certainly was not housework. So, then we find out that Jerica's dad, who is the main character, her dad, and keep in mind, this episode moves at a fucking breakneck pace, right? It's the only way to describe it. Jerica's dad is dead. He left her the orphanage and his music company. And that seems a little weird that she is living in this orphanage when she is like the heiress to a music company, but we're going to ignore that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because there's some other guy who's also involved that has like partial ownership of this thing for some reason. And he's trying to bring this band, the Misfits, up in the music world, and they're really mean, and you know they're really mean because they look very punk.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah. So then they're going to do like a battle of the bands, but then Jerica finds out that it's rigged. And she's like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. You can't just do that. She gets earrings from somebody, and she puts them on, and there's like a hologram. And it turns out that her dad gifted her these earrings. I know, hologram. What? Her dad gifted her these earrings and this AI called Synergy. And it makes her and her orphan friends into these like cool rock stars, and they're going to use their very fake music ability to beat the Misfits in the Battle of the Band. And that's basically where, oh, no, it doesn't leave off there because there's a car chase, there's a cliff, there's action, there's excitement, glamour and glitter, passion and fame. Jem is truly outrageous. The end.
And then
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
episode ends with a man breaking into the orphanage
Oh,
and
yeah,
setting
yeah.
it
Setting it on fire.
It's on fire. I forgot about. How did I forget about the fire? Probably because even like a quarter of this episode would have been enough for a normal cartoon.
Yeah. There is a lot going on in this.
Wow.
show.
Yeah.
So much. This first episode is so full of plot and characters and weirdness. Like they have to go to the Starlight place and then they have to drive through this non-wall and meet this alien woman, I think,
It
who's
does
also a
not
hologram.
give you. It doesn't give you a second to breathe. It
It
does.
is wild. And it also, like you said, it starts off with a weird Rube Goldberg of just weird mistakes that these girls and one guy cannot fix. Like he tries to like screw the two wires together. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna hold these wires. Will you turn that light switch off for me
Yeah.
and see if this works?" And then
I'm over here thinking like if Jerrica is this heiress to like this music company, she would probably have money, right? But no, she's living with these orphans and she doesn't have enough money to hire a plumber.
They're like these pipes just
Whatever.
keep just falling. And then like the vacuum, for some reason the guy falls off the ladder and breaks the vacuum, which puts dust everywhere. And I'm like, what is this show about? And then yeah, they get the dad gives her, the dad leaves her earrings and a cool car.
The car is really fucking cool.
Car is
Yeah.
pretty cool. But I like also at the Battle of the Bands when they're like, wait, the Misfits can't win. I have an idea. And then Jem and the Holograms play. And then Jem goes, well, we were invited by her. And then Jem hides herself and then comes back out and she goes, yeah, that's right. I told him they could play here. Like, well, what is happening? If Jem
The
is in charge,
shenanigans.
Now, does anyone remember my favorite part of this episode was the name of the band that played before the Misfits? Does anyone remember
I
what
don't.
the name of that band was?
I remember thinking like, wow. But
Septum infection, right?
No, they played right before the Limp Lizards.
oh, Limp Lizard. Oh, such a, so what you watch this episode, you're like, wow, this is so much stuff. This girl's dad's died. They have this foster home of only older teenage women, and then there's this car and the hologram. Dylan, what did you think this show was going to be about? Like, there's 3 seasons. What do you think this show was going to be about?
The bonds of band as they win contests and become friends with each other thanks to a supercomputer.
Okay, now does the hologram make the music, or are they actually musicians?
Unclear.
I think
it's unclear.
I think they're musicians. I think Jem is the only one who
Isn't?
gets the Yeah, because everybody else is just their normal selves.
Yeah, but do they actually play music, or does like the superpower
that because while the drummer is vacuuming at the beginning of the episode, she has one drumstick in her hand and she's just tapping on everything.
I saw that. I'm like, what is happening here? She's
I definitely do that. I carry around a drumstick and I just knock on stuff.
Bizaz. Now we heard a couple songs in episode 1, which lets us know how good the music's going to be. Do you remember any of the lyrics to any of the songs, especially by the Misfits?
God, no.
Yeah. Michael Misfit.
It all is like a fever dream, okay? Do you remember your fever dreams? I don't.
Kind of.
My favorite Misfit lyric was, I've got something to say, I killed a baby today, and it doesn't matter that much to me as long as it's dead. I couldn't believe that was on an 80s cartoon.
Yeah. Dylan, how about you? Do you remember any of the lyrics?
I just remember the theme song.
How did that go again?
Jem is truly outrageous, and then truly outrageous. I tried to make that joke earlier in the group chat and I got cut off.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Good call. No, it would have
was,
been too much. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But no,
No,
I
that's
don't
fair.
remember any of the actual songs from the episode, though I do remember enjoying the Misfits more than the Holograms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the Misfits were just like, we're outrageous. We're just fucking outrageous.
And your
And
actual
They're
this-
musicians.
actually outrageous. They
Yeah.
don't have to tell people that they're outrageous. They just are outrageous.
Yeah,
Misfits
just
are-
We are.
like, well, we're outrageous too, you guys.
And the Misfits are just always kind of in the background, just saying 3 different lines over and over again about what's happening. Like, your dad is dead. Your dad is dead. Your dad is dead. Rock, rock, rock. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a good show. Okay, so Dylan, then we jump forward to season 3, episode 13. Can you,
Yep.
can you please tell us what this episode's about? Of this
So-
rockin' group of kids and holograms and majesty.
So the band helps one of the girls find her dad. It is Mamma Mia, the movie, but before they made the movie, like it's a girl has 3 possible men who could be her father, and the band helps her like find him. It starts with them. It's like they're going to school, and the girl starts crying. Her name is Ba Ni.
Ooh,
It certainly is.
She is Vietnamese or half Vietnamese. And they're at school, and there's art on the walls, and it's like all the kids did art with their dad, and she starts crying because she doesn't know who her dad is. She's like, he had red hair, and he was a soldier in Vietnam, and they're like, cool. They recruit a guy named Riot due to the
It's
big
Riot.
blonde hair.
Oh, right. Yeah.
They recruit him to make a doctor break their oath, make a military person break their confidentiality, and get a list of 3 people.
It was not hard to do that.
No,
either.
it's
They're
like,
just like,
I really
come
shouldn't.
on.
I really shouldn't be giving you this information. Oh, come on. Okay, writes it down. One of them is there are only 3 people in the database that fit whatever. One of them is in a wheelchair. It's not him. One of them is a gambler scumbag. He hears that Bonnie has a house, and he's like, "Yeah, that girl's my daughter." And then the other one is like Irish O'Flanagan or whatever his name is. He's like the super Irish dude.
Yep.
Who is like, I don't remember Vietnam. I was a prisoner of war. Maybe it's probably not me. It's probably the other guy. The gambler kidnaps Bonnie, takes her to a zoo, locks her up, and is going to exploit Jem for her inheritance.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Marty O'Connor or whatever, it's a bit much. Has a literal Vietnam flashback where he meets a woman and they fall in love, and the village gets attacked, and she disappears, and he's a POW for a while. They storm the zoo. Synergy uses holograms to make animals to scare him, and then they win. They beat him. It's easy. And then it turns out Shock, he's their dad. Marty O'Connor or whatever his name is. Bonnie's like, cool, found my dad. Bye, everybody. And then leaves, and then the show's over. The show is over, not just the episode. The entire show ends on that note.
Yeah.
And some of those notes are used in the East Asian riff, which is not so good right nowadays. But back then in the 80s, it was kind of like naive and dumb. And
Yeah.
That's it. That's the show. That is how Jem and the Holograms ends.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that we can all agree that is probably the perfect way for a rockin' hologram space alien show to end.
Oh, sure.
On a sad PSA on what happens if your friend can't find their dad.
Yeah, you definitely want to end your rock and roll rivalry show with an episode that involves kidnapping, thoughts of suicide,
Vietnam torture.
Vietnam flashbacks. We've got just like head trauma.
It's also not played for laughs. It's supposed to be a
No.
dramatic episode.
That was serious.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is they cut in the middle of all this seriousness with a very light pop and rock song. Michael Misfit. What, do you remember that song?
Yeah, it was something like well, I mean, the title, because the fun thing about this show was that when they started a song, it did like an MTV kind of like intro. It told you what the song was, it told you who sung it, and the Gem and the Hologram song in the middle was "Who's Your Daddy," and it was like oh, what was the lyric? It was like, "Hey little girl, who's your daddy? Find your daddy, embrace him, and get covered in his love," or something like that. It was cute.
It was cute, and obviously that's what that episode needed, because it was a pretty deep episode, and I thought that just sliced in that sandwich just of nice little fluff there. Now, Bizaz, as Michael said, you know, they kind of give you every intro as though it's like a music video. What was your favorite Misfit music video that we saw throughout these 3 seasons?
Oh, okay. So I think my favorite one was the music video. I think the song was called God, Slurping Up That Man's Corpse. And it was just the Misfits just like drinking the blood from this dude. And it was about like 3 minutes of them like trying to like sing while they are drinking blood. It was kind of graphic, actually, for like an 80s cartoon, but honestly, it was kind of metal.
Yeah, it was. And honestly,
yeah,
it was a pretty sick punk. It was a pretty sick punk by the Misfits, because obviously, as we know, Crip Cola was a thing there, but somehow they made them drink that blood instead, which was pretty. That was the beginning of metal, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Misfits invented metal. Yeah.
That's a fact.
In episode 1, they did. That was great. Actually, I'm going to ask everyone the same question. Michael Misfit, what was your favorite Misfit video?
My favorite Misfit video was the one where they took the original bassist from Gem and the Holograms and they sacrificed her. I think it was called Season of Torture, something like that. But they took all of her basses and they made like an upside down cross out of it, and they crucified her to it, and then they set it on fire. And the whole song was like it's the season of torture. No one will escape. Gem, you're next. Yeah, it was more of a chant than a music video, but I enjoyed it nonetheless.
Yeah, it really got the crowd going too. Like they were gonna murder some more people.
Yeah, the way that they started talking about it, like the show is called Gem and the Holograms, and they're really like pushing Gem as like the protagonist for this show, but the Misfits just got what they wanted all the time. They won all of the competitions. They had members from Gem and the Hologram come over to the Misfits. They really ran the show, and I don't quite understand why the show was called Gem and the Holograms.
Because it was Misfits and the Holograms. Now, Dylan, I'm gonna change up a little bit. As we know, the Misfits also dabbled in the creation of new metal, and we got a little bit of that in season 2. Can you talk a little bit about your favorite new metal song from the Misfits in season 2?
I think no, actually I don't think it was. It was the one where they sang, it was the follow-up to the House Fire episode. I know it's in season 2, but they like do a callback, and it was Maybe This Is As Best As It Gets, and it's a song like lauding the insulative properties of asbestos. And of course, this was done in the 80s before we knew officially and banned it, which is interesting to look back on in retrospect. But they do a lot of melody work in there, which I really liked. Yeah.
No, I agree. Now, a lot of season 2, the Misfits were dabbling in new metal. Gem and the Holograms, obviously, were going for more sponsorships, though. And we saw just a gaggle of sponsorships, some stickers on the car, even just, they got to make that money to keep up with all the plumbing in that foster home. Bizaz, what was one of your favorite sponsorships that obviously was an advertisement as well?
Of course. I enjoyed the Light Bright one. Sometimes I forget that like the Light Bright was even a thing. But then I go back and I watch the show and I'm like, oh yeah, that was actually a thing that like was around at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a good reminder. Like we cannot forget the Light Bright.
I agree.
The absolute best toy out there in the 80s.
And they also managed to turn it into an instrument.
What?
I said, and they also managed to turn it into an instrument, which I thought was very creative.
Yeah, no, I loved it when I loved watching Gem just like play her Light Bright, and it made that little like it just made like a plastic scraping noise, but like they made it into music. It was very clever.
Yeah,
it was cute. It's cute. Definitely made me want to go buy a Light Bright.
Yeah. Dylan on guitar, same question. Sponsorship.
It's the 4th Battle of the Bands episode. Where they announced that the Battle of the Bands is being held at the White House by Reagan and the Reaganomics. And, they win handily, like they win most of the state's votes. But I mean, you start to see the fallout of that pretty much immediately through season 3. But I gotta say, the music in that episode, like I can excuse a lot of it for that music.
Yeah. Michael Misfit, same question.
I liked the one episode. It was when they were on the road and they were in the van and they sang a song in the middle of it. Like they were going from, I think, New York to Kansas, and they had to get to the show on time. And they were like, they sang that song. Do we have time to stop? It depends. And then they said, no, we don't have time, so we have to put on our Depends.
Yeah.
And they just peed and pooped in their pants for the rest of the trip. But they didn't, it wasn't a problem because the Depends don't leak. They're easy to change. They hold a lot. It's all, it was a very good advertisement for a very great product that I don't think people talk about enough.
It's so interesting that you brought that up because when I watched that episode the other day, it just kind of sunk in my head like, oh yeah, Zach, you're not original. This is where all of your jokes come from. And like, on one of our shows, we had a running gag where we talked about Depends a lot. And it turns out this has been sitting in the back of my skull since 1986, the Depends humor. So I'm really glad you brought that up because that made me feel kind of stupid, which is fine. Now, Dylan, we talked earlier about new metal in season 2, and obviously they dabbled a lot in different styles of music throughout the whole 3 seasons. A lot of people think it was just glam rock, and it wasn't. Do you want to talk about one of your favorite styles of music that either Gem, the Holograms, the Misfits, or another band tried out?
I mean, they do a lot of pioneering for a lot of different music styles. But I really do appreciate the like early crust punk stuff that they do. I mean, it's gross. I mean, like Cronenberg style, like kind of disgusting. But it's really cool to see that rendered in the 80s style, especially because the only other time you see anything like that is kind of like heavy metal.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's filthy, and it was great. Yeah.
What was the name of that band?
Crust punk, I think. I think they originated the term.
Oh, the crust punk was a band that played a different song. Oh, okay.
And the genre it was so revolutionary what they did that they named the genre after them.
Yeah, that was pretty dope.
Yeah.
Michael Misfit, same question. Style of music.
Well, I'm a big fan of the glam rock, and I also loved the Misfits did write that album that was Vanilla Starfish and the hot dog flavored hot dogs. But otherwise, they did do that folk funk.
Mm-hmm.
It was real like it I think Beck said that that's where he got his inspiration from. And not many people know it, but Beck actually played one of the orphans in the orphanarium that Jem and the Holograms ran. And he said that show was what inspired him to pick up the 2 turntables and the 1 microphone. So I appreciate this show, if nothing else, than for giving us Beck.
Yeah, so much inspiration came from this. Our Depends jokes, Beck himself. Lots of things came from this. Bizaz, how about you? What was your favorite?
What?
No, I was just saying, same question.
Okay. So I think I really enjoyed watching Jem gangster rap for like an entire season. I thought that was really cool in season 2. I think it started like season 2, episode 2, and then just kind of went. The entirety of season 2 was just her like gangster rap. She was going in it. She was like, and like if I recall, didn't Biggie like do one of the songs from Jem?
I mean, he definitely,
yeah,
on his Unplugged, that MTV Unplugged of Biggie's, he did a couple of the Misfits gangster raps.
I think he did it on his tiny desk.
Yeah, no.
Biggie's tiny desk.
He wore the wig and everything, like full like 80s glam, but like gangster rapping was fantastic.
Yeah.
10 out of 10. Absolutely.
So other than this show that ends the whole season, the whole series on, this pseudo PSA on the missing dad, they actually had a bunch of cliffhangers that they never really went back to. It was almost like almost every episode was a cliffhanger and they just wouldn't resolve it. And Simpson style would just kind of start over. But Bizaz, what was one of your favorite cliffhangers that you were hoping they would come back to and just never did?
Season 3, episode 8, I believe. They were literally hanging off of a cliff. Just the entire cast, the Misfits, Jem, the Holograms, that one guy. And it was right after Jem sang that song about how her boyfriend keeps wanting to kiss Jem, but she is Jem. So it's really confusing because like she's flirting with him, but like as Jem, and then getting mad when he doesn't like try to kiss her as Jem, but also like getting mad that like he would possibly kiss her as Jem. Like it was really confusing. Anyway, it was like an actual cliffhanger, and she like looks at him and she's like, by the way, and then it cuts off and they never talk about it. Yeah.
That was frustrating.
It was frustrating. It was frustrating for sure.
Michael,
now
Misfit.
it does beg the question though. Is Jem the same as what's
Jerica?
No, I don't. Jerica. Are they the same person? Does Jem just like make her look different? Because they did have, because Jem had her own boyfriend, and then I keep wanting to say Aurora, but that's not her.
Jellica.
Different episode.
Jellicle.
Yes. And then Jellicle had her own boyfriend, and I was just wondering, were they different people?
No. Like Biggie said, Jem's not a player. She just crushes a lot. No, they're the same person.
I think they are hinting at the split personality stuff through season 3, but
you're right.
When they canceled it, we never got a resolution to that.
We didn't. We never got to find out if Jerica is actually batshit insane.
Yeah, which brings up a good question, because there are a lot of times where Jem and Jellica will both go on that weird Mrs. Doubtfire style date with 2 people, and you're like, who's this for? You're doing this to yourself. Let's see, Dylan, favorite cliffhanger.
I mean, how do you choose between what, like 30 episodes or something like that?
Yeah, easy.
It's I think it might be the one where she goes to the dentist and they're wondering throughout, like, who's the guy who's stealing all of the teeth? We should go to the dentist and like see if we can see anybody stealing teeth. And then as she's sitting in the dentist chair and he's like, all right, open wide, she looks on his wall and he's got the tubes of teeth displayed, and her eyes widen, and then the credits roll, and it's like, okay, cool, I'm ready for the next episode. Let's resolve this. Next episode starts. They're like driving down the road and they never bring it up again. But I mean, it was effective, I thought. So,
well, which is weird because as we know, her teeth are also holograms. So I'm not sure
Right.
why she was at the dentist to begin with, but it was a weird forced cliffhanger.
yeah.
They did have that one episode where the teeth holograms didn't work, and she was just singing with the gums the whole time.
Yeah.
Be horrifying.
Yeah. If they weren't doing that folk punk, I don't think it would have worked. But I think that they took the lack of teeth and went, what can we do with this? And they did that. I mean,
it was a real Dave Matthews vibe I was getting.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the only way that you can sing without teeth is if you do like a folk funk, folk punk, Dave Matthews, her baby.
Pretty baby. That's funny. No teeth or no shoes. That's the only way you can do that style of music.
That's right.
Michael Misfit, how about you? What was your favorite cliffhanger that they clearly just ignored on the next episode?
Well, like B said, the amount, they did the cliffhanger so much that they actually invented the term cliffhanger because of the amount of times that they ended up like literally hanging off a cliff, whether it was during the skydiving episode, whether it was on the episode where they visited Mount Rushmore, or whether it was that first episode where they were hanging off the cliff in the car. But I think my favorite one was the one where just the drummer went off the cliff and she was holding on by the bass guitar. This was before, obviously, the whole crucifixion thing, but she's holding on to the bass guitar and the bassist is holding on to the regular guitar and the guitar player's hanging on to the microphone cord, and then Jem is up at the top and she's like, should I just let these fuckers go and just start a whole new band, or just go solo like Beyonce? I thought it was weird that in 1986 she's going, should I just be Beyonce and just go solo? And then they never show what actually happens, but I assume that she pulled them up because the next episode starts off with them all driving in the van. They're all together again.
A lot of van driving openings.
So much vans. Like vans, and then them kind of like brushing dirt off their shirts. And it's like, I guess that's what you happen. Okay, that's fair.
Brushing that one episode where she was brushing the teeth off of her shoulder.
Yeah.
And
but it was before
like,
the dentist episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're just giggling and they go, that's a hologram tooth. But yeah, it's such a weird joke, and a lot of the humor was before its time too. So you could tell, obviously, in the end of season one, close to the end of season one, that the show was struggling for viewerships, and they did that thing that Brady Bunch did by adding like a sibling to the mix, trying to gain younger viewers by having a younger cast in there. And obviously they fought a lot because who likes a younger brother? Dylan, how did you feel that inclusion of a younger cast member to get a younger audience for an already young audience?
I mean, having like a Santa elf is a weird decision for a show that's not based at Christmas.
Yeah.
And I understand if they did, for the Christmas episode they did in the first season, yeah, sure. Okay, have them happen. But to have such a gruesome spawning process for this elf is a really strange decision in my mind. I thought the character addition was good. And I thought their exit from the show where they get fed to sharks was also like appropriate for the intro. So yeah, I think I'd say like Happy the Elf is probably my favorite of the companion characters they have. just really a weird way to intro them to the series.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the way that they portrayed Mrs. Claus as the giant like woman torso, and then like the worm slug, and then the elves were just like slooping out of her.
Yeah, it's very insectoid.
The sound design was great, but
and then to make those sloppy elves that turn those into their roadies, so they actually look like they had more fans. I thought was kind of ingenious, but also why it led to them being eaten by sharks.
Yeah.
Sloppy the elf. I forgot about that. Bizaz, your favorite additional character, and you cannot use Sloppy the elf.
Oh, I can't use Sloppy the elf. He was my absolute favorite. Oh
we
man!
all love Sloppy.
all right.
Too easy.
I was going to mention Sloppy the elf just because he was one of Jack Black's first ever roles, but that's fine. No, I think I really enjoyed when they brought over Snarf from Thundercats as like a crossover.
Yeah.
I loved him. I thought he was really cute and really charming and definitely not annoying at all. He was great.
Yeah, and especially with how much he bragged about how he could play the mouth harp, I really thought that was going to be a character that hung out for a while. But no,
it was fantastic.
He had stuff to do. Michael Misfit, how about you?
Well, like you said, they were trying to get the younger audience from a young audience. So when they introduced, and I don't know why they named a human baby Poochy, but they had Poochy, the human baby who wore the backwards hat and the sunglasses and just the blue t-shirt with the leather jacket. And, it was just dumb because, they introduced this character, and the way that they introduced him, it was like, oh, this baby's always been around. And then every time Poochy wasn't on the screen, they had the characters saying, "Where's Poochy?" And it was just, and then of course the next episode just starts with them driving in the van. They never talk about Poochy again.
Just brushing their shirt off. And it's like, I guess you guys.
Yeah, they're just brushing their shirt off, and they were like, well, he died on his way back to his own planet, and it was just, it was just a weird way to introduce an entire character.
This show turns out to be very crazy. Okay, so as we know, the show tackled a lot of very topical things that were going on in the mid 80s. They did the Berlin Wall. Obviously, they did human trafficking, and also that one really weird suicide episode, which was, I thought, pretty nice. What was one of the biggest topics that you thought was like really intelligent for a show to put in and write a whole episode around? And I'm going to start with Bizaz.
I was hoping you wouldn't.
I'm going to start with in post. We'll fix this in post. I'm going to start with Michael Misfit. I know B didn't want to talk about this earlier. I forgot about that.
The important topic, I appreciated that since the president at the time wasn't talking about the AIDS epidemic, I was really glad, because Jem was like talking about HIV, talking about the rumors that were going on about it, and how they weren't real, and how you really got it, and how if you do this, you can protect yourself. They did so much of a better job talking about the AIDS epidemic than the actual government at the time did, who was just ignoring it. Ronald Reagan killed Freddie Mercury, if you ask me.
And millions of other people.
But
a lot of people killed Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, it was terrible. But yeah, the fact that they talked about it when the actual government wouldn't, who could do something about it at the time, I thought was very important.
Yeah, I mean, some say Jem themselves cured the AIDS just by knowledge, which obviously isn't true because AIDS still exists.
Yeah, it's not, but they did a lot. Jem did a lot more for the AIDS epidemic than Ronald Reagan ever did.
Yeah, also very true.
I mean, everybody on this podcast has done more for the AIDS epidemic than
also
Ronald Reagan
true.
did.
very, very true. Okay, I'm gonna go to Dylan next, and then possibly Bizazz. Who knows?
Yes, I'm ready.
I feel like I go to this well a lot, and I think that's
Do you?
just I think that's just because a lot of shows for some reason feel like they have to address the Challenger explosion. And
Yeah,
when they
you do go to this well a lot.
I mean,
all the time.
it was a formative event for a lot of people because it was aired, and Jim
Yeah.
was doing the concert on the launch pad, and they had
Yeah,
that
but-
shot from really low down, looking up as the trail goes off.
Yeah, but
And-
you gotta stop saying that was the most rocking event of the '80s, though. You
I
can't
thought
say that.
I didn't say it was the most rocking event. I thought. Wait, is the question not which like event did they cover in the show?
That is the
I'm
question.
not saying it's a
but
good
on
thing. Wait a
every
minute.
other show, you're like, yo, you guys remember the rockinest shit that happened in the '80s? I'm like,
I
Dylan,
mean,
stop talking about the Challenger, dude. This is the wrong show for that.
It's been 30
1 week since you looked at me.
I fought myself to not say that. Did you hear me stutter? I was like, stop, Zach, stop, don't do that.
I figured
It's
we
been
were
almost
past the
40
point of
years.
holding ourselves back from terrible, terrible jokes.
Yeah, you gotta let the bad jokes run.
It's
Anyway,
been almost
Dylan.
40 years since the Challenger explosion, and I mean, I know it was like fresh on them. Like literally, the episode released later that week. They did the South Park thing where they swerved the episode to address it, and you can tell because they have the South Park animation. That's the modern event I think they tackled best.
Yeah, and they did it in a rocking way. So I mean, you ultimately were right. Bizazz.
So I didn't want to like brag about this, but they actually did a whole episode about my birth. Do you remember this one?
That was your birth?
Wait a
My birth.
minute.
Yes, that was my birth when they showed up at that hospital room in Germany, and they were all like, "Oh my God, congratulations on the baby you're pushing out right now. Fantastic job. Go you, Veronica. You can do it. I believe in you." Yeah, no, that was me. That slimy blood-covered baby, that was me.
I really thought that was a hologram.
Yeah, no, they made they made an entire episode about my fucking birth.
Wow.
That's why I love this show so much. It's all
You
about
really
me.
buried the lead on this going into this.
Yep.
Is this why you wanted to do this show so badly?
Yeah, it really is. Come on.
Why was that baby drawn so slimy though?
You weren't there. Okay.
And
No.
It's
now-
Germany. It was slimy.
because I didn't know this fact either, but they were very graphic with showing the birth.
Yep.
Was that actually like was that based on
Yeah, they
your
like motion
mother's
captured everything and then like
Okay.
drew it from there. Yeah. That's why everyone looked so like lifelike
Yeah.
and why
They
that
said-
baby was extra slimy.
Yeah, they said that was the first birth ever done in rotoscope. And that's why I was like, well, then I guess we should do this show. But I didn't know that you were that slimy.
I was
That's
it's a
interesting.
military hospital in Germany. I was absolutely
Yeah.
slimy.
Huh. That
and
is
you
so-
can't tell anymore, but B has private messaged me like just talking about how slimy she still is. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't it's
I
makeup.
still am. Like I do a good job covering it up in makeup,
Yeah.
taking care of myself. But no, I'm a slimy creature.
Just
Yeah.
a slug of a human. So
I
weird because
know.
when they drew it, I'm like, well, that can't just be like after birth. There's so many like
No.
weird oozy lines. But yeah, okay, just a
That was just
slimy baby.
that was my skin secreting slug-like mucus
Yeah.
texture.
Wow.
Hmm.
They
Correct.
really went over all
Yeah.
the rockin' shit in the 80s. That is cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
The best of the 80s.
Well,
Me.
yeah. Slimy B, the rock star. Okay, so I don't have any more questions for you guys. Was there any questions that you had throughout this while binging or not binging the show?
I mean, I got one.
Oh, good.
They use Synergy uses the holograms to run a lot of schemes. They do a lot of cons and stuff because they gotta get money to run the Starlight House, whatever they call it. Yeah, you got a favorite scheme that they run on people? The cons, the heists.
Mm-hmm. Well, is this me or anyone?
Yeah. I assumed you. I thought we were asking you questions.
Oh, I'm just if there's any questions anyone had throughout
I'm
the
asking
show,
you
I
a
mean.
question specifically, Rio Zakacho. Zakiko?
Zakiko.
Zakiko. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, if you watch all of season 2, you'd get that reference.
I'll ask you before the show next time how to pronounce your name.
So I think the one that they did, which I'm not sure how paid off for them, but they would put those weird like leave a penny, take a penny things and all the 7-Elevens around, but all the pennies that were in there were all holograms, and they would come and scoop up all the other pennies when somebody left one. If they try to take one, hologram. If they would leave one, the Synergy would just come and just take it. And I'm like, I don't know what you're doing with this, but that's cool. I guess I've never really thought about that before. Yeah.
Okay.
I liked the way I liked when they would take the they took the orphans, and during the Gem and the Holograms shows, they would go around pickpocketing everybody, and then at the exit to the concert, they would sell people back their stuff. I thought that was a really good way to do it. Also, then if they got caught, who's gonna like try to arrest an orphan child?
Yeah.
Oh no, don't put me back in the system.
Yeah.
I'm just a slimy baby. Don't throw me back in there.
Yeah, no. I think my favorite one was when Gemma decided that she was going to scam Jerica out of her inheritance, forgetting that she was actually Jerica. That was my favorite one because she is, and I need to remind you all, the heiress to a very successful music company. She has the money. She could fund this place. They absolutely would have been fine if Jerica remembered that she was an heiress.
Yeah, and if she would have signed the Misfits to the record label, she could technically just own them, right? So like,
yes.
It goes back to that like foreshadowing of like the Jim Jericho like personality split they were leading up to before they were canceled.
Right. Yeah. It would have made sense then, but like before then, you're just kind of like Jericho. That is your money. Okay, girl, do what you got to do. You go, girl. Truly outrageous.
Now, Dylan, I know which one was your favorite of all the schemes because you would not shut up about this. But it was the one where they would make like hologram people to be like house cleaners, and then they would go ruin their pipes, ruin the vacuums. And then when people are like, "What are you doing?" they would just say, "You see that camera over there? You're on Practical Jokers." And then they would dip. And it's like, what?
Yep.
There's no camera. You're just messing up people's houses.
Yeah, and then they did Clean as a Gem cleaning service where they would like then go and like make it look holographically like clean. So yeah, just that easy.
What a scheme. What a scheme. That and just the slimy hologram babies. This show was absolutely it was outrageous.
This Gonzo. Yeah.
It was
outrageous.
It was friggin' Gonzo.
Now that you say Gonzo, I also have a question. The orphans that went in and out of the Starlight House, there were so many crossovers from different shows. Gonzo was there from the Muppet Babies, and but who was your favorite orphan that came through the house? Whether they stayed, because some of them stayed, they came in, in the middle of season 1, and then they were there till the end. Some of them were there for one episode, some of them had arcs, but there were a lot of orphans.
Well, I don't know if this counts, but it definitely was a crossover. So when they brought in Battle Cat as like that emotional relief animal for all the sad, slimy orphans, I was like, oh, you're tying it in with He-Man as well. But that's when I realized that Battle Cat himself was an orphan, and that was cool until they put him to work, which is fine. So yeah, I would say, I guess, orphan Battle Cat from He-Man.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, mine's easy. It's when the Misfits have to get the new bass player and they bring in Starscream.
Nice.
Yeah, and they do the reveal where it's like, I don't think you know quite what you're going up against, and then and
that's the first time we heard auto tune though was Starscream. So
he really wailed on that bass too.
And honestly, and bass as a character just did not last very long after Starscream started beating the shit out of her. All right. Any other questions we got before we move on to the end of this show?
Well, I did want to know if B had a favorite orphan besides themselves. I know.
Myself. No, so I actually really enjoyed, because you know how Barbie and Jem were like rivals as far as like Hasbro and toys go. I really loved how they actually killed Barbie on screen very, very brutally. Like it was horrifying actually to watch, but kind of fascinating. Anyway, they brought over Stacy into the Starlight House, and she had to live with the people that murdered her big sister. And I thought that was really fun.
Yeah,
Really fun, really quirky. They got up to all kinds of hijinks. Then she actually hung herself. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, the show just it tiptoes the line of being too clever and a little too dark. And if
especially since Stacy was pregnant when she hung herself. I thought that might have been the time that it went over the line.
I mean, to be fair, to be fair, her mom's got it going on, so.
God, I hate you.
Oh boy. All right, can I say I take back my statement where I said that we just got to let the bad jokes fly?
Did you see Dylan licking his lips when you said that?
Oh, I was ready.
He's like, I got 6 guns in this. I got 6 in the chamber. Right?
I fired all 5.
Yeah.
Why are you like this?
Yeah, I had such a stupid joke, and then you pull it out with a Stacy's mom. Oh, I hate you. Okay, so if you guys have any questions for us, or if you'd like us to figure out what happened in certain episodes of Jem and the Holograms, please put them in the comments. Send us an email. You heard the email address earlier. You can also text Dylan, as always. I'll just put his phone number in the show notes. Feel free to text him any questions you have, and he'll make sure that we get them. Now, for the next episode of this, we all came to the conclusion and the agreement that we should linger in the 80s a little bit longer. And we're going to go ahead and do Alf, right?
Yep.
Alf.
Oh, yeah.
Which is an
life form.
Alien life form, Mr. Gordon Shumway from Melmac. We're going to figure all this out. So I think that was on 3 seasons, right? Is that right, Dylan?
I think 4.
I think 4. Yeah.
I think you guys are thinking properly.
I just
a lot
remember
more Alf than you would think.
Zach, you remember doing the that Versus show where we had to write stories about characters fighting each other, and it was Alf versus Luke Skywalker.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and I had to do mine live.
That was a good episode. I'll actually put the show note. I'll put the show. I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. Okay, so next time you tune in, we're gonna be going over Alf. 4-ish seasons of that. Very first one, very last one, and then just making up a bunch of shit in the middle. Before we get out of here, though, I'm going to ask you guys individually if you would make time to binge this show. Yeah, very easy one. And then also, where can people hear your beautiful voice or see your beautiful face move? I'm going to start with Dylan Terry.
Yeah, I wouldn't make time to binge this. It's kind of vapid. It's an 80s cartoon. I could, if I had like unlimited time or something like that, I could see myself like putting this on if I was like hungover and needed to lie in bed for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know the epilogue by heart, but that's okay. And are we doing plugs right now? After that?
Yeah.
I don't recommend this for binging, but you should binge Silicon Angels, and you should go through CYOP Appeal and Talking Upstream and Twitching Upstream and a podcast show. We've got some other shows. You can find them all by looking up Some Nobodies. We've got everything on there. Zach over there. I'm doing the Zach thing there. God damn it. Never mind. You know who he is. You know who Zach Wiseman is. We do a lot of stuff together. Go listen to those.
Hell yeah. Bezaz, you got time to binge this or what?
Oh, I always have time to binge this. I watch this all the time. I'll be honest with you. This is one of my favorite things in the world. I know we're all jokey joke, but
have you actually seen a lot of this?
Unironically.
Yeah. Have you actually seen a lot of this?
Yes, I have. I've seen all of it.
Does any like episode actually get serious? Does it get like deep like the last episode?
Not really.
Okay. All right. Good.
It just makes the last episode that much more jarring. I'll be totally honest.
Yeah, that was odd. All right. Where can people see your beautiful face move?
Okay, so you can follow me on Instagram where I'm posting all kinds of fun cosplay photos, b.bethy. If you want, you can also follow my Jack Black Instagram account, Blackjacks for Jack Black. You can find me on Twitter at QueenBethyB and listen to my other podcasts. Is This Podcast a JoJo Reference and Deep Lore?
Boom.
That's-
Michael Misfit.
I think I don't know if I'm gonna binge this, but I feel like this is a great background show. I was so thrown off by the melodrama of everything.
Mhm.
And like we said in the beginning, it was like, especially that first episode was like thing after thing after thing after thing after thing. And it's like, it has that cool 80s art style where they don't really care, and sometimes the necks are too long, and sometimes the arms hang down to the knees.
They're shaped like
and-
upside down triangles.
Yeah, it's just all so crazy. But I've watched Masters of the Universe, the 80s Masters of the Universe recently. I watched some She-Ra and I watched some Transformers, and they're all miserable shows. Like, they were fun for kids, they're good toy commercials, but they're not good. I was actually interested in Gem when I was watching it, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna start watching this. So yes, I would say let's binge Gem and the Holograms.
Yeah.
But while you're binging Gem and the Holograms with your eyes, you can, with your ears, binge Jack Billings Presents Haunted Apartment Complex. It's a very strange scripted comedy show set in an alternate dimension, Reading, Ohio, with magicians and ghosts, and it's a very weird and fun show. If you don't want to binge it, you can follow us on Instagram at Jack Billings Presents, and we have like little 1-minute clips of episodes on the Instagram, so you can like get a snippet, sort of what you're in for with the show. But everyone on this panel has been on the show and shall be again.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna agree with all of you. I think that the show is both bingeable and also unbingeable. When I had it on, I was like, wow, this is intense. And like the opening being rotoscope, the opening sequence is gorgeous. And then you get to some art which is weird, and then you're like, I don't really care what they got going on for 3 years of this thing about a hologram. I don't really care. But also every episode I watch, I love it. So honestly, if you have time, binge it. Don't make time to binge it. If it's on, feast on it. Dylan Terry said everywhere you can hear the stupid shit that I say. And other than that, I'm excited about Alf. Dylan, what do you know about Alf?
Alien.
I'm crazy, but I'm not that crazy. Go ahead, I have a hunch.
And now for something completely different.
Okay, hold on tight.
What I do is I look a woman up and down and I say,
I'm coming to join you, bitch.
Oh, is that too far?
Oh, you want to get into things?
Well, I mean,
No. Let's get into things. Let's get real. Everybody, Bojack wants to get real. Cancel the bubble round, because we're getting real.
I am Synergy, a holographic computer designed to be the ultimate audio-visual entertainment synthesizer.